You guys saw the title of the video. I'm going to be going over my thought process while taking three setups in one day. And if you guys see my other videos, I only take one setup per session usually. And that's obviously to avoid like tilt and to avoid over trading and stuff like that. But I took these setups on demo because obviously, like I just said, I don't like taking multiple setups per day, but I want to start getting into that so I could catch majority of the move and I could actually capitalize more on what the market is giving me. So first, I'm about to be breaking down the 4 hour time frame, which is where I get my bias. I don't usually do this in the videos, but I did that in a few other videos on the final hour macro. So I'm about to be breaking down my thought process going into the day. So as you can see here, we're in a downtrend on the 4 hour time frame. I have my notes over here as well. But yeah, so this candle here is the range, right? Because this actually closed at 10. So this is not what you see when you're going into the market at 9:30. So you see this range, and this line here is where the market like is currently at, where price is currently at. So as you can see, open here and up here, that's a green candle, and with a bit of a wick touching this order block and this breaker. So what I'm looking at is, okay, can we bounce? We're probably looking to bounce off these PD arrays and continue into the New York session to take out more of these lows. So obviously this low hasn't been taken out yet. If you're looking at 9:30, right? So that's my first target. I didn't know it was gonna get hit like obviously that fast, but yeah, my second target is over here, and my third target's over here. Hence the three setups. So yeah, my notes quickly, it just says in a downtrend on the 4 hour, looking to see if price uses the low it just took out as a breaker to bounce off of and keep moving lower, or if it uses the order block to do that. So yeah, this is the low here and this is the order block. They're touching each other, so we can see, oh, are they going to bounce off these PD arrays and keep going lower? So obviously I have a bearish bias. If we just break up, I'm not going to take a setup, of course, because that means now we're bullish and there's no setups towards the downside. So yeah, that's basically going in to the day bearish bias, like I said. And this is what I see. So we're gonna mark out this is when I look at the market at 9:30. That's when I start looking at the market. So as you can see, obviously we saw that from the wick already, but we touched the order block and the breaker, and this is obviously on the 1 minute time frame where I take my executions. So we already touched that and we start going lower. We use this fair value gap before 9:30 to go lower, and we keep going lower and lower until we have the first presented fair value gap over here, and we enter off of that. Our stops being at over the three candles that make up the fair value gap, as well as over a lot of these little like order blocks, I guess you could say, within this like bigger order block, and above the consequent encroachment of this order block, the bigger picture order block over here. So we're at the consequent encroachment here. So we don't expect price to go all the way up there, especially since there's a fair value gap over here. So we do that. We enter going up here and we target obviously that 4 hour low that we see. It's lower than this, but if you scroll further, you could find that. We have that obviously. I'll show you guys again on the 4 hour. This is the low that we're aiming at for the first target. And we hit that pretty easily here for a 2.47 risk to reward. So now I wrote price enters into the 4 hour breaker block and order block, which is up here, starts selling off. And then I sell at the fair value gap, aiming for the first 4 hour target. Okay, next. So we have another move down into the, no, the first move down, sorry, into the first target. And we get a retracement. Okay, now we're seeing, okay, is it going to break structure and keep going up? In that case, I'm not going to take a setup. Or are we going to keep going lower? So I don't enter right over here like I would do on the first setup, because I don't really have a clear like bias, I guess, because price could start reversing. We already hit one of the targets. So I wait for it to hit a PD rate and bounce off. Because look, it could go back up to this PD rate and start bouncing off, and then I'll take a setup there. But in this case, it went through this fair value gap and into this order block, and then it got a big displacement towards the downside. So I can be confident, okay, we're going to keep moving lower because of this displacement, and we already hit the PD array needed for the fuel to go to the second target. That's basically my mindset. It basically says that. I sum that up basically in this text over here. But yeah, so I don't enter obviously at this fair value gap or at this order block, even though it might have worked, because we could have retraced further up and then bounce off of one of those. So yeah, when we get displacement, we enter, and then off the PD array we used for fuel, I put my stop above that. So okay, we could retrace into that same PD array for fuel, but it invalidates my setup if we go above that into another PD array, because I'm basically saying that I use this as fuel because of the displacement over here. So yeah, we're aiming for obviously the second target, which I don't know why I think it's overextended here. I think Our target is here if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, maybe I messed something up like somewhere along this line here, but whatever. Yeah, so we get this setup here. It's a bit of a smaller one, but it's still over, obviously over a 1-to-1, almost a 1-to-2. I feel like I got a 1-to-2, so I think the execution is something's a bit wrong with it. I think maybe the stop placement I just messed it up. But yeah, it's a bit about a 1-to-2. So now the third setup, which we actually lost, as you can see, is going into, it's basically the same logic as the second one. We break lower, okay, enter into a PD array, which there was one here, but we didn't bounce off of that one. We enter into this one, and then we have displacement down, like to the downside here. And we put our stops above the PD array that made us like enter. So as you can see here, we go a bit lower or like a bit higher, then a bit lower, and we basically stay there, and then we get stopped out. And part of that is because I guess the final hour macro, not final hour macro, sorry, the 1050 macro is coming up, and that's obviously a sign for reversal. But as you can see, we didn't really reverse that much, and we ended up going down and then a bit more up. But yeah, that's why those second and third targets are obviously riskier, and I would suggest, okay, put half risk probably. The first target, okay, that's your setup for the day. And if you want to take more, I say lower down the risk. Especially if you lost, I don't think you should take another one. But if your idea is right, so okay, we're in a bearish bias and we got to set up going short, you can say, okay, I'm right for the day. So this a good opportunity to take more setups and get more profit, of course, but you don't want to over risk. Let's say if you lost this one, the second one, and then you took another one and you lost, and you're basically giving it back most of your profits, which obviously is not ideal. Now, will I be doing this more often and taking multiple setups in one session? I don't really think so, but I might start implementing maybe like taking two setups if I find a really good one. But I don't know. For me, it's just risky. I'm obviously probably going to lower my risk on the second, third, or whatever setups after the first one because I don't want to give away my profits. And obviously, if I lose my first setup, I don't know if I should take another one because that means my bias might be incorrect. But obviously, there's a lot of factors to play in. I'm obviously like profitable as a trader, taking my first setup in one session and then moving on to the next session. But I don't know how I will translate to taking multiple setups in one day. So I have to obviously ease that in, take these setups on demo if I want them. But yeah, that's just for you guys to see like raw, I guess, video of me like trading and trying something new for the first time. Obviously using the same type of logic that I go into in multiple of my other videos on how I take these trades, but basically just applying it multiple times throughout the same session. If you guys enjoy this type of video and me like showing you guys what I'm like doing raw, then please let me know, or let me know if you guys have any other ideas that I should do in other videos. I kind of want to do a video touching on like bias and like getting into that because I feel like I haven't touched on that a lot in my channel. But yeah, so that's it for this video, and I'm about to see you guys in the next video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and obviously leave me a comment if you have any questions or any like recommendations for the future. Peace, boys.